Welcome, everyone, to the From the Shadows podcast. I am your host, Shane Grove. And before we get into today's episode, I want to remind everybody that if you want to find us on Facebook, you can find us at From the Shadows podcast. You can find us at our forum page called After the Shadows. You can find me on Instagram at Shane Grove Author. You can find us at the From the Shadows podcast Instagram page, or the good old-fashioned way, go to our website, www.fromtheshadowspodcast.com. Hit the contact button, send me an email, especially if you have a story you want to share, and maybe come on air and share it with us. I'd love to get an email from you and hear about it. And if you really want some extra content, you just can't get enough of us, you can go find some extra content on our Patreon page. We put up episodes early, we put them up commercial free, and we do a couple extra episodes every month. So with that being said, now everybody that's listening can't see this smiling face that is going to tell you one of the craziest, maybe evil stories ever. But if you're watching on YouTube, you get to see her smiling face. So welcome to the From the Shadows podcast. Well, welcome, Caitlyn.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, listen, once I saw your TikTok video, I was just hoping that there wouldn't be so many messages in your inbox that you didn't find ours that said, "Hey, please, I need to hear more about your story." So I'm so glad.
I did have a lot of messages in my inbox, but you decided to text me a year and a half after it was posted, so I definitely found it.
So I don't know how it came up, who sent it to me, but I am so glad that I came across it, because I think this story is going to be a lot of people's favorites, especially when it comes to the haunted side of the stories that we have on here. So I just want you to. I'm just going to hand it over to you. So
Okay.
I want you to start with the events that led up to the real events.
Okay, you be quiet, Shane.
I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to be quiet.
Okay, so it started out as I was sleeping and my daughter came in and she was like 5, and she's like, "Mommy, can you get the little girl out of my bed? I can't sleep." And I'm like, "What little girl?" And she's like, "The little girl in my bed, hopping on my bed. She wants to play with me." And I'm like, "You must have had a dream. Just come in bed with me." And then she kept saying, "Who is messing with my dollhouse?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And she's like, "Daddy keeps rearranging the furniture." I'm like, "No way. He's not playing with your dollhouse. He probably bumped into something, waking you up, making your bed, all that." Nope. So what ended up happening was I ignored her. I didn't think anything of it. Like, I just thought, it's a kid, like 5 years old. Like, you have an imaginary friend. I don't know. Like, I just ignored it. And then the only reason that I thought there was anything going on was because we were out in the garage hanging out. And when we came in, our 16-year-old daughter at that point said, "Oh my God, the freakiest thing just happened." And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "I saw Jen in the kitchen." And it was late, so I didn't want to, I followed her to the bedroom to make sure she was okay, but she was sleeping. And I shook her awake, and Jen was passed out, but I just saw her wide awake. So I'm like, "Oh man, Jen said that she saw a little girl in her room. Let me ask her." So the next day I said, "Hey, Jen, like, what does that little girl look like who was jumping on your bed?" And she's like, "She looks like me. She has long blonde hair. She has blue eyes. She looks just like me. She's a little bit younger, but she looks like me." And I'm like, fuck. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I cursed.
It's okay. That's okay.
I said, "Darn. Oh my goodness gracious." Okay. And then I was starting to get real freaked out. So I called my sister and my mom, and we were on three-way. And I said, "Josie just said this. Like, what is going on?" And then my sister was like, "Didn't you trash pick that dollhouse?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "You trash picked a haunted dollhouse." And my heart stopped, and I was like, oh my goodness gracious. Oh my goodness gracious. I probably did trash pick a haunted dollhouse. So wait, do you have any questions at this
Well,
point?
well, I did. Yes, I do. So your older daughter Kate comes downstairs and sees your youngest daughter,
Hmm.
right? Did she talk to her at all? Did she interact with her at all, or she just saw her?
No. Yes. She did talk to her. She did. There are only two people who interacted with the ghost. Well,
Okay.
three people if you get to the end of the story with my ex-husband. But for the beginning part, it was only two people. It was Josephine, the 16-year-old, and it was Jennifer, who was 5 at that time. They were the only people who interacted, and I never got to see the ghost girl. Only those three people did. But
It's so you're just going solely on the reactions of your kids to
yeah.
begin with, and you know that first. So when you hear the older kid say something's going on, say something that seems out of place, now you
No, the
know.
5-year-old says something, you're just like, oh, you're
Yeah,
dreaming, it's
yeah,
no
exactly.
big deal. But then when there's a 16-year-old who's fully with it, telling you the freakiest thing just happened. They saw their little sister in the kitchen and they said, what are you doing, Jen? And then the little girl says nothing and goes to her room. And then Josie follows to make sure the little girl, like, or that Jennifer's okay. And she goes in and Jen's passed out. And she shook her to wake her up. But Jen was like already sleeping. She was like, whoa, I think I saw a ghost. And then that was the moment that it clicked that, like, maybe we do have a ghost. But I wanted to confirm with Jennifer of what the little girl looked like before I even said to my 16-year-old, you're freaking me out right now. Because I just said, oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. Because I'm like thinking, you know what I mean?
Now, did you think for a second that it might just be something in the house, even like that wasn't attached to the dollhouse? I mean, why did your sister immediately think it was the dollhouse, or was that because your youngest daughter said somebody was messing with the dollhouse and stuff?
It's because there was a lead up to this. Like I talk to my sister every day and I'm like, man, Jenny's saying somebody's rearranged
Ah,
the dollhouse. Man, Jenny's saying there's a little girl in her room. Like, but then when I said to my sister and my mom, we were on three-way, like, Josie saw this little girl, it looks like Jennifer. Like, my sister was like, immediately put it together. She's like, that dollhouse you trash picked. And yeah, I almost pooped myself. I'm like, oh my God, we got to
I'm
get rid of
sure.
this. We got
I'm
to get
sure.
rid of this dollhouse. We got to get rid of this. We got to get rid of it.
Now, now your youngest daughter, at up till now, you said she got to see the ghost. Did she get to talk to the
Yeah,
ghost?
the little girl did nothing but bother her and wake her up in the middle of the night and jump on her bed and kept waking her up every night, wouldn't leave her alone. But when she slept in my bed, the little girl didn't bother her. So she was sleeping in my bed a lot. But even during the day, not even at night, like during the day, the little girl was there.
Wow, and just pestering her to play with her and stuff.
Yeah, she
Now,
wanted to play and she ultimately wanted her to jump on the bed with her.
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's
She
super.
just wanted to jump on the bed. Like, and
Just wanted
yeah,
somebody to be a kid with her,
yeah,
for sure,
yeah.
for sure. Wow, that's kind of cool. I mean, for me sitting here, that's kind of cool. For you, it's not very cool. So immediately now you start.
No,
I'm
I did not. I ignored it. I didn't think she was for real. I thought she was dreaming and like she dreamt that somebody was jumping on her bed. Like I had no idea it was real. But then when Josephine said, I just saw this little ghost girl, I'm like, wait, Jen is bitching about a little girl waking her up. Could this be the same thing? So then I got really freaked out. And that's when I reached out to my mom and my sister on three-way. And that's when my sister's like, you trash picked the dollhouse. You brought a ghost into your house.
okay. So now the realization has set in that you may
Yeah.
have brought a ghost in. What happens next? What's going through your mind?
Okay. Well, I immediately okay. So I went to Facebook and I wrote a
Okay.
post. what should I do? Like this, I wrote a whole Facebook post. I can screenshot it for you to put to your viewers, but I was like, what do you do? This is what happened. I explained the whole scenario, and then people responded. And they're like, this is what you should do. You should sage. You should burn the dollhouse. You should get rid of it. Oh, no, you should like try to take care of the little girl. But nobody wanted the dollhouse, and I didn't want it on my property. And I couldn't go dump it. Oh, and people said, take it back where you got it from. No, because then I'll get a dumping fine.
Oh, jeez.
So I put it on my curb with a sign, and I'll send you a picture of what it said. It said free dollhouse, but just know it's haunted. It comes with a little girl. She's like 3 or 4 years old. We have 5 kids. We don't need no more. Nobody took it. Nobody took it. But it was still on my property like 3-4 days later. And then Facebook was like, burn it, burn it, burn it, burn it. So then, yeah, I burn it in a bonfire.
You burn it in a bonfire. Now, while the dollhouse is sitting out by the curb, did anything go on in the house that you remember or know of?
That's a good question. I don't remember during those 3 or 4 days if anything happened. But I know when the dollhouse was in my house, yeah, I would like clean, and like for instance, my bed was made and I put like a stuffed animal in the middle, or of the bed for Jennifer to like look at. Teddy, his name is Teddles. And then I come back in the room, and I'm a stay-at-home mom, so no kids were home. It was just me and the dogs, and the dogs were like out in the living room. And then I come back in my bedroom. Teddy was already pushed like to the side, like, and I took pictures of it and I posted them on Facebook. And somebody had said, oh, it looks like the little girl was like, some medium was like, it looks like the little girl was jumping over the bed and knocked the doll over. Yeah. But then Jennifer had issues because she was like 5. She was new to kindergarten. So I always said to Jen, if you have a great week and you don't cry any day in the morning, you don't get upset for school, every Friday you'll get an LOL doll. So the LOL dolls, I had a collection in my closet. And the one day, like, I cleaned my room. I came in my bedroom. The LOL dolls were all over, like scattered. Like a little girl was just waiting to get onto them dolls.
So what? How many pairs of shorts did you go through? Well, the stuff, because that's
16,
like,
Shane, 16.
Holy smokes! I mean, that has to be. And the dogs never picked up on any of this stuff. Like it never, like were the dogs?
No, Cora used to bark at Jen's room, but I just thought that was for her to go in there because Cora is like a pit bull. She's so protective. So I just thought like she used to sleep in Jen's room. She didn't want to sleep in Jen's room during this time, but she barked at the door and I used to open the door. She wouldn't go in.
So she'd bark, you'd open it, and the dog would be like, I'm just barking. I'm not, I got no.
Yeah.
Holy
it
smokes.
was almost like she was warning me. Like, don't go in there. There's some shit going on in there. You want to know.
So, okay. So now you burned the dollhouse.
Oh,
how does
we
that?
We had
a
big old bonfire where we invited a lot of people, and I have a record on my TikTok of it. Like so the dollhouse is burning. There's smoke's flaming out everywhere, and then I thought, oh, good, it's all done. Nope. It did not detach her from the dollhouse or my house. It just pissed her off. She got real mad. She got real effing mad.
So what did she start, like, what started happening then?
Well, then windows started opening, lights started flickering, music would go on from the radio that it wasn't supposed to be on, but all of a sudden it would start low, and then all of a sudden it would be like, brr, and then it would go back down again, and then because we have a radio in our kitchen. It just got a little bit like more evil at that point, like after we burned the dollhouse. So then it got more evil, and that was going on. My front door would open like it's on a time code, like, or not a time code. It's on a you have to enter a number for
Yeah.
my door to open. The front door would just open, like slam shut. When I was home alone, you know how scary that was? And then
I
I
can
went to
imagine.
Facebook.
Yeah.
No, I went to Facebook and I'm like, I am so afraid. Like, what do I do? And everybody's like, just sage. Sage. It's gonna like it'll be fantastic. Like just sage. It'll all be over with. Just sage and get rid of it. So I went to the herbal store. I bought a big old thing of white sage and I saged starting from the basement in all the corners upwards. Yeah. 72 hours my house burned down. I think I really pissed her off by saging. Yeah.
Wow. So I want to make sure everybody understood that you burnt the dollhouse,
Hmm.
and it seemed to take the activity of a seemingly innocent little girl
Yeah, it went
turn
from like moving dollhouse pieces and
to
jumping on the bed to like
really making sure
slamming the
every
door,
yeah.
like doing inappropriate stuff.
Now, at that point in time, then did either one of your daughters see the little girl,
No.
or so this little girl's totally not around, even
Right.
though your youngest daughter has all this time
Hmm.
been I don't
Interacting with her,
interacting
like
with her, yeah.
yeah.
And so you're feeling frightened and scared and a little disturbed.
Mhm.
You do what you think is right, and your house burns to the ground. Burns to the
No,
ground.
I went to Facebook. You can't listen to people on Facebook. They told
Ah,
me to burn the
uh,
dollhouse where I shouldn't have done that, but then they told me to sage. All that did was piss off her even more. And then 3 days later, I left my house to go to Guitar up the street, and I got a phone call from my girlfriend, and she's like, "Caitlyn, your house is on fire." I'm like, "What? I just left like 11 minutes ago. Like, what?" She's like, "Your house is on fire." I'm like, "No way." I went out the door. There was like they were doing like gas construction, so they thought it was a gas leak. There was like 11 fire trucks. Like it was a big freaking deal. There's smoke and fire pouring out of all my windows in my house. Like it was so scary. My dog was trapped inside. Thank God that we were able to get her out. And I didn't think anything like of that. Like until like my daughter said when we moved into the rental, "Oh my God, you burned that little girl's dollhouse, and she burned our house down." That's when it, but I saged, I'm telling you, 3 days, like not even 72 hours later. Yeah, my house was, and guess what? It's deemed, we have no idea why your house burned down. Nothing went wrong.
so they can't even find like
No,
the origin.
it's no, it's a undeemed. They don't know why my house burned down. It wasn't electrical. It wasn't any device. It wasn't a candle. It wasn't a cigarette. It wasn't anything. They have no idea why it burned down.
That's the craziest. I mean, it sucks. I mean, when you first told me this story, I did not see that come because I didn't see. I just saw the one video that you did,
Oh.
and I didn't see. And when you told me that, I was like, "You got to be kidding me!"
Did
Like,
you think I saw it coming?
no, I did. I don't know how you can see
I
that
never
comment.
would have saged.
I well, listen. If there's any more evidence needed that people stop paying attention to what's on Facebook, any that this is the it almost. But when we started talking about this, I mean, the first thing that came to my mind is a little girl, like if that was truly a little girl's spirit, and
It
you,
was a demon.
yes, admonished a little girl would go in the corner or hide for 10 years or whatever it is in ghost
Yeah.
time, and be like, oh, they're mad at me, I did something wrong, because that's what a kid does. Most
Right.
kids aren't, oh gosh, what was her name, Drew Barrymore in Firestarter, and go and go burn everything down. Most kids aren't gonna do that. To
They
me,
don't
then,
even know to do that.
not, yeah, not really. And to me, though, then that little stretch of the really like sinister things happening, because opening a door and closing a door, that's not just cute. That's really like saying, look what I can do.
It
And here's,
wasn't opening the door. It was the door went, whoop.
yeah, but I mean, opening and slamming the door and
Yeah.
doing all that stuff is like showing, like, okay, I'll show you. You might have burnt my house, but here's what I can do. I'm going to really,
You're so invested in this movie. Let me just turn the TV off on you.
yeah, yeah,
Let me mess
exactly.
up your Wi-Fi so you can't get it back on for a half hour. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, everybody don't think that just because your Wi-Fi goes out, it's a ghost. This is just
No, it's
Caitlyn.
a demon.
It's a demon. So, which I'm curious, did you go back through like the Facebook posts,
Yeah.
and was there anybody that maybe said, "Hey, look, this could be like an evil
No,
spirit,"
not one person said demon. No. Mm-mm.
and nobody said this could be evil, don't mess with
No.
it, just leave it go?
Mm-mm.
It's interesting because you would think at least one person would.
Everybody felt so bad for the little girl, and they thought that I should have left the dollhouse in my house and cared for her. And that's why the note said, I already have 5 kids. I don't need anybody else. Like, I don't need a little girl to like a ghost girl.
It's super easy for other people to encourage you to keep a ghost in your in your
Yeah,
house.
right?
That's freaking everybody out. So so the story continues, right? It
Right.
doesn't just end with the house burning down. So the house burns down, you guys move into a rental, and then what starts happening?
No, so the best part is, so I love old people. So when I moved in this house, I made homemade cookies for all my neighbors, and I wrote, hey, I'm new to the neighborhood. And so the old woman across the street, she looked up my number in the phone book and she called me, and she's like, I would love to have coffee with you. So that her name is Miss Marion. So me and Miss Marion had coffee every Thursday from like 9 to 12. Like, I'd go over, I would take my kids over. Like, if we were having a barbecue, I'd bring her food. Like, we became like super close, right? But she passed away like a year and a half before this whole thing came out. And then her son, who owns a whole bunch of properties, the house was fully furnished. So when our house burned down, I reached out to Miss Marion's son and I said, hey, Joe, can we rent that house? It's right across the street. Like, it's small, but we'll just make it work for like a year, because then we can watch the process of our house being, rebuilt. And her house was probably built in the early 1900s or whatever, but he moved all the stuff to the attic, like, you know, left the furniture, but all like the personal stuff he moved
Yeah.
to the attic.
Okay.
And he had a rocking chair that was like a kid's rocking chair that he moved to the attic. And my ex-husband did not tell me until after we moved out of the house, because he knew it would freak me the hell out. But when we moved back to our house after living there for 11 and a half months, he said, I was so freaked out the one night, like, I went upstairs because I heard rocking in the attic, and I went upstairs and Jennifer was rocking in the rocking chair. And he's like, you're not supposed to be up here. You shouldn't be up here. You got to go to bed. And she's like, okay, daddy. And so he's like, okay, let's go back to the bed. And he was walking down the steps, and then he looked back at, like, up the steps, and she wasn't following. So he like went up the attic and couldn't find her. And he's like, maybe she passed me. Jenny was sleeping, passed out in the bed. So I feel like that little girl found a home at Miss Marion's, or the demon. I don't know. But he said she was passed out. And I was like, why didn't you go pick her up? Like, normally if you saw your little kid, he's like, I
Yeah.
don't know why. I don't know. There was something that, like, I didn't want to touch. I don't know why I didn't say, hey babe, let's go to sleep, or hey baby, little girl, like, and pick her up and take her down the steps. He just expected her to follow. So he did see
That's
a little.
oh so okay.
And she talked to him and he saw her. I never saw her, but he got to see her, not me.
That's literally two people who thought this was your youngest daughter. Thought that
No,
was
3 people.
well, your daughter though knew it
Oh, she
wasn't.
thought
Yeah,
she was just a little girl. Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
looked like. But 2 people that should
They
know.
couldn't differentiate.
That is so wild.
And he said she talked exactly the same as Jen. Like it was the same voice. Like
So
and
so
the
I
same look.
well, I wonder if there was 2 things going on in in your house. Like maybe there was a little girl and maybe there was an evil spirit. Like how long had you lived in that house that burnt to the
Since
ground?
2010.
Since 2010. And
And
so
this happened in 2019.
so nothing happened until you got that dollhouse.
Oh no, something did. Only yeah, yeah, but that was just shadow people and my
Oh,
daughter saw them.
just shadow. Well, wait a second. Just shadow people. Oh, we didn't win the Mega Millions. We just won $200 million. Okay, wait a second. Let's back the truck up here.
You did
Okay,
I didn't know what shadow people were.
okay. So, so you
So we
move into
first moved in this house and
okay.
my daughter was like she was sleeping in bed or wait, what happened? Hold on. So it was my middle daughter and it was okay, so he's trans. So it was Liz at that point, but now his name is Sam. So I'm going to say Sam. So Sam came, well, I was laying in bed and Sam's like, here are those black people again. I'm like, what black people? She's like, right there, the black people with the red eyes. They just walk in a line and they disappear through the wall. I'm like, I don't see any black people. And she's like, you can't see them? I'm like, no, I can't see them. And nothing happened until we moved in this house. She said there was a line of black shadow people with red bright eyes and she couldn't look at them because they were scary, but they were in it was a parade of them that would just go right through the
Like
freaking
from
wall.
one like
Like
from one wall to the next wall, like they were just passing through
no,
and
they were just like a parade of them, just nonstop all night long, she said. Just nonstop. And so I like that was in her room. So I pulled her up in my room. And then when we got to my room, she's like, they're still here.
and
And
you
I
couldn't
I
and you
slept with the light on. No, I slept with the light on for like 5 years. I ain't doing no shadow people. I said, when the light's on, do you see them? She said, no. I said, okay. But she couldn't believe I didn't see them. She thought everybody could see these black shadow people with red eyes.
I've never heard of shadow people with red eyes.
Yeah.
Like I've heard of a lot of shadow people. I've
Google
ne-
it.
so you did
I
some
posted that
research?
on Facebook too the minute it happened because I'm vocal. Like I want to know other people's opinions. And I had like at least like 10 people right back on my Facebook. I saw them when I was little and I appreciate you believing your daughter because my mother never believed me and always made me go back to bed. But I believed my kid. Like she wouldn't make something like that up.
So was she the only one, or they're the only one that saw these?
Yeah, the black shadow people, yeah, she was the only one. And he still remembers to this day. And whenever I ask him about it and I'm like, what about them shadow people? He's like, I really don't feel comfortable talking about it. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I remember, but I don't want to talk about it.
Wow. So I am I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say you had 2 separate things.
Hmm.
Okay? I think the evil or the shadow, whatever you thought was evil, that, and I don't want to say they burnt the house down, but I think that was something always going on in the house.
The
Then you,
shadow people weren't scary. They didn't do anything. I didn't even know about them. They just presented to my kid. Like, that's not a big deal.
but
The,
but you bring in the dollhouse
right.
that has a little, maybe it did really have a little girl attached to it. Like it's a true like little girl attached to it. And
Oh,
maybe this little girl comes in, stirs up maybe these other entities, get used to this little, because who knows what's going on in this other dimension or whatever that we're
right.
not privy to. And you take the dollhouse out, you burn it, and these things are mad because now their little girl is gone,
Got screwed over.
got kicked out of the house, and they're mad at you, and they start doing whatever to you guys. And the little girl then does end up going across the road because the house is empty, right? You said the lady had passed away. Maybe she just goes over to the other house, the
Yeah,
spirit.
she followed us because
Maybe
our
she,
house was nothing but
but
what.
maybe when you put her dollhouse out on the curb, maybe she just said, "Okay, I'm not welcome anymore. I'm going to go over to the across the street."
No, because we put it on the curb and then I put it back behind my garage and there was still activity. And that's when I went to Facebook and they said burn it.
Oh, okay, okay. And but I'm just one. I mean, to me, that kind
But
of
listen, you didn't know. So when I was talking to my neighbors and I went to Facebook, they did tell I trash picked the doll. I don't remember the exact house, but I trash picked the dollhouse on my street, right? And people were like, there was a little girl who was like 3 or 4, and she passed away from a medical illness, and it was her family's only daughter. And I think maybe her father was obsessed with her and made her a replica of this dollhouse that meant a lot to her. Then she passed away and she just got stuck to the dollhouse. And then it was in her parents' house until they passed away. And then somebody just put it on the curb thinking somebody needs it, not knowing the little girl was attached to it. And then I picked it up, and then that little girl got attached to my little girl and got attached to me because
yep,
I'm a
yep.
mom with 5 kids. And yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the little girl part for sure. But
Right.
now that you've told me there were shadow people, and
Hmm.
like I said, I've never seen the red eye. I've never heard of the red eye thing. I have to look that up
You
because
got to
that's
go on my TikTok because I
I'll
posted
have
it
to.
and everybody was like, I've seen them. I've seen them. I've seen them.
Yeah, I've never even heard of the red eyes on the shadow people. That's creepy. So I wonder if that though was the evil part, like
They
that.
don't have a face. They're a shadow, but they have
Mhm.
bright red eyes.
Yes, I've heard of tons of. I've had quite a few people who have had experiences with shadow people, but never red eyes.
Mm.
Never. That's that's what I'm saying is I've never heard that. So that's something I
In
definitely want.
your experience, have you seen them like just walking in a line and disappearing into the wall? Like,
Like from some of
no,
the
it was a line. It was like it wasn't one
yeah
shadow person.
yeah
There was a parade of them.
I've never heard of one, maybe two, but I've
Mm.
never heard of just a line of almost like it was a portal from one place to the next.
That's
Like
what
everybody,
people said on Facebook, but I also had my daughter at that time when I took to Facebook draw a picture, and that's also posted on Facebook. I took a picture and I posted. I have all this on. This is all on social media because I'm not quiet. I go right like it's all
yeah.
documented. Everything.
So let me ask you. So does your youngest now? She's got to be what, 9 or 10?
She's 10 and she still remembers a little girl. Yes.
She's still. And did you do any more investigation like into the family down the street? Did you kind of figure out a name or anything?
No, I was a little bit too afraid. I don't really want to know too much.
Yeah, yeah.
Then it makes it more real.
I just wondered if their daughter might have, and I don't even know how you'd have a picture of it, but I just wonder how close she looked.
You are more than welcome to investigate, but I was
I don't.
not investigating because
I
I am
I'm
too
just.
afraid of that. I don't really want to know it was real. I want to kind of think this was in my imagination.
No, I I just wondered if you happen to. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stir anything up. So now you guys are back your house got rebuilt. You're
Hmm.
back into and has anything happened?
Hell no, thank God.
So nothing's happened. You guys, it's nice and peaceful. There's nothing. Okay, okay.
Okay, but I know Miss Crompton who lives across the street at Miss Marion's right now, and I should ask her if there's any activity because I swear that little girl's probably over there sitting in the rocking chair in the attic.
Oh,
But I
gosh.
didn't know that until after we moved out. And then my ex-husband was like, let me tell you something that happened that I didn't want to tell you when we lived there. But like this really, and it freaked him out so bad he couldn't tell me until he was out of the house.
It would. I mean, I got to be honest, as a grown adult male, I don't know if I, in the middle of the, like late at night, if I heard a rocking chair going up in the attic, that I'd go up and look. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how every, that's how every good horror movie starts or maybe
I wouldn't
ends.
go up and look, but apparently he did because he was thinking everything was. He never saw the little ghost. He didn't even believe me about the ghost girl. And then
So
our house burnt.
he
No,
didn't
he
believe
was
your
like
kids?
so not on board. He was like, so I'm like, this. I told him everything. This is what happened. This is what happened. This. He's like, it's no, it's fine. Kids imagine. Like he was oblivious. And I feel like that little girl appeared to him to let him know this shit is freaking real. Like, I don't know, but I don't. I'll ask Miss Crompton. She lives across the street now at Miss Marion. So I'll ask Miss Crompton, like, have you had any issues going on? Like,
It'd be interesting to see if she does say stuff. What really what I really wonder about those shadow people is like where they went to, you
I
know,
don't think I have little kid. My youngest is 10, and I don't think people can see shadow people when they're old.
when
So
they're
I
older.
think maybe like maybe my grandkids will see them, but maybe my house burned down and burned down the portal. I don't know, but
I know that's I've heard that in movies where it's the portal to the nether world and it burned the building down, you know, that it was,
I
oh
wish you
gosh.
could see all my Facebook like posts because like if you read them as they were going on, like looking back now, I'm so happy I was able to document and take to
Hmm.
Facebook so you could like it could be verified, like I got to send you screenshots or you got to go on my Facebook and look it all up, like
Okay,
it,
I'll go check it
it's
out because it's super I mean
fucking I'm sorry I cursed again. Crazy, it's
I
inappropriately crazy.
listen, I believe that anybody who's listened to this episode and heard what you guys have gone through will cut you some slack for at least a couple swear words. because because the, I don't know how anybody, first of all, like, and one of my co-hosts who's not on tonight is we call him the judge because he's a judge, and he tells a story that happened to his daughter when she was like 3 or 4 about about she kept saying, I got this, there's this boy that keeps coming in my room, and except this boy was trying to get her to go outside, and it was like February here in Ohio, and the
uh,
boy was trying to get her to go outside and play, and it culminated in him seeing this little boy walk, and then him hearing through the baby monitor somebody speaking a language that he'd never heard. And he thought, oh my God, this boy, it was his daughter speaking to the little
in
boy
tongues.
in, what did they like?
Tongues is no distinguishable language,
Well,
right?
they kind of like he's told the story in a couple places, and people come back and say they think it was Sumerian, like the way he described it. Now, there's no, of course, way to know what Sumerian sounded like, but
Right.
that's what they kind of, and it was crazy. And so basically, like he always tells when he tells the story, similar to what you came to realize is when your kids say they have an imaginary friend or
Hmm.
they're seeing somebody, you might want to believe them or at least investigate it a little bit because you never
No,
know.
I dismissed it right away. I said, you had a dream. Nope.
And
I dismissed it
and most
until Josephine said, I seen that. Then I was like,
well, and most people would because I'm with you. I think this is a lot of people believe this. When you're younger and your mind's a little more innocent and clear,
yeah.
you can see stuff. And so who knows what we all saw as little kids that we do not remember. But if you remembered that, then you'd be like, oh, wait a second, I remember this as a kid. So it's a good thing, maybe to a degree, that your daughters remember some of this stuff. So when they do have kids, that they pay attention, pay
When
attention.
I went to Facebook and I said about, Sam like seeing the shadow people or whatever, like my mom's best friend growing up, my Lois, she said, I am so happy that you believed her because I saw shadow people with red eyes throughout my entire childhood. And every time I told my parents, they never believed me. So kudos to you for believing her and trying to investigate like what this is and going to social media and saying, does anybody else know about this? Like, what should I do? What, like, do I get a priest in here? Like, what do
Mhm.
I do? Like, I had no idea what to do. But that was a separate incident, I feel like, from the little girl. But maybe not, because maybe my house before the fire was like, I don't know, a portal. I don't know. But
There's,
now there's no activity, thank God, right now.
thank good. So is this the only time that you've yourself have experienced this stuff?
Yes.
Like growing up, there was nothing, and just this period of time living on
Oh
this.
no, no. Growing up, there was stuff going on at my Palmetto Street house, but I don't think that is relevant to what my kids are going through. I Yeah, there was some shit that went on that my mom didn't believe when I was younger.
So you had some stuff happen that you
Yeah, I
witnessed as a
definitely
kid?
saw a couple ghosts but my mom told me I was just dreaming, so I think I was just dreaming. I don't want to get into that because I'm going to get freaked out. I don't like to think about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. Hey, look, you've been through enough, and just resharing all this, I'm sure, is traumatic to have to go through it. But I mean, I hope people, but you sharing your story and doing it on Facebook and TikTok, which is where I saw
Hmm.
your stuff, it really does it allows people that go through this stuff to not feel like they're losing their minds, that they're not the only ones. I
That's what
mean,
Lois said. That's what Lois said to me. She said, I
mhm,
can't, thank you for
yeah,
telling like, believing your daughter, because my parents just dismissed it, but you are like reaching out for like help. Like, you
yeah. Even
believe them.
even if
Yeah.
you don't know what's going on and you can't find an answer, at least you are giving
I'm
out the
trying
information.
to find an answer.
Yeah, you're giving out information, and that
Yeah.
it may help. And if it only helps one other person help their kid,
It's worth it.
it's definitely worth it. It's
Yeah.
definitely worth it. So Caitlin, I want to send people to your TikTok channel so they can watch some of this stuff that you've posted over the years. Tell people what your TikTok channel is so they can find it, and we'll actually put a link in the show
Okay,
notes
well,
too.
my name is Caitlyn and I have 5 kids. So it's Caitlyn, 5 kids, KIDS. That's it. That's my TikTok handle.
Go check out Caitlin, 5 kids on TikTok. Follow her, enjoy her content. She's
They
super
don't
awesome.
have to, as long as they enjoyed this podcast. I don't care if they go check me out, but
I
as
want
long
to.
as they enjoyed this podcast.
Well, if you
But
enjoyed
if
this
they and then
podcast,
if they want to go check out my old Facebook with all the freaking shit, or I cursed again. I'm sorry.
so
Okay. I'm Caitlin, Caitlyn, Baldwin, Baldwin, Clark, Clarke, on Facebook.
yeah, go check it out, and
You can
be
see all from the years. Like,
be
I'm
res-
legit, like,
please be respectful, be supportive, and be thankful that Caitlin came on and shared this experience with
my
everybody.
pleasure.
And if you get a chance, go watch this episode on YouTube after you listen to it on Spotify or Apple,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
it's even better. It's like it's a ray of sunshine on the other side of the screen
You're so nice, Shane.
here. Well, hey, I'm just thankful that you came on and shared this with everybody.
Thank you
I
for
think
inviting me. I really appreciate it.
I
Because we
super.
got to get that out. We're not
Yep.
crazy. This shit does go on. We are not crazy. And
Yeah.
when your kid comes to you when they're young and they don't know any better, you best believe them.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. That's a good way. That's a good way to end this show. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Caitlyn, and I hope everybody enjoyed this story as much as I did. And
I
Kate,
enjoyed it.
yeah, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.